Hello, it's Magsie Moyer here and welcome to this week's playlist, US State and City Bands. This playlist is a selection of 21 tracks from artists and bands, all with names of American states or cities. It's interesting to know how performers get their stage names. After all, as RollingStone.com said, it's one of the biggest decisions any band will face, what to call themselves. When recently the phrase "state my name" popped unexpectedly into my head, I started thinking about acts who, one way or another, are connected by name to US territory. Tracks from some of the best of these made it into my playlist. When I say connected one way or another, that's exactly what I mean. Some well-known artists like Michael Jackson, track 20 on my playlist, performed under their birth names from the outset. Reading a little about the methods his father used to mould the Jackson 5, it's perhaps unsurprising he kept the family name, even though his birthplace, Gary, Indiana, offered a promising starting point for alternatives. Many other performers have simply taken their names from where they lived, or, a little like Lawrence of Arabia, where they worked. Chicago, Detroit Emeralds, Kansas, Georgia Satellites, Boston, Miami Sound Machine, LA Guns are all bands named in this way. Of these, it's possibly less well known that the LA Guns, track 13, gave their name to the world-famous Guns N' Roses when they merged in 1983 with fellow Los Angeles group Hollywood Rose. Some rising stars were born with names rather unsuited to their chosen careers. Prolific folk, rock, pop and western singer-songwriter Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. took the name John Denver, track 18, from a city in his favourite state of Colorado to look a little more snappy on publicity material. Elsewhere, US states have been taken as band names without too much concern for geographic or cultural significance. Alaska, for example, was one in a series of bands involving Bernie Marsden, most famously of Whitesnake. Marsden's website still opens with the line, "All I ever wanted was to play the guitar for a living, and that is what I'm still doing." A succession of different bands, and never mind the name, fits this simple ambition perfectly. Dusty Springfield, track 19, born Mary Isabel Catherine Bernadette O'Brien, was an artist keen to leave her early life behind. Given her conscientious approach to recording through persistent rehearsal and retakes, it's likely she thought long and hard before taking the Massachusetts state capital as her stage name. The rock band formed in Los Angeles by Canadian Neil Young and American Stephen Stills in 1966, track 21, had a more laid-back approach when taking their name Buffalo Springfield from a steamroller parked outside of the house. I'm always open to a name where the product does exactly what it says on the tin, and so it is with the band New York Dolls, track 11, formed in New York City in 1971. One of the first bands of the early punk rock scene when on-stage messages were frank and raw. The all-male lineup flaunted makeup, spandex, high heels, exotic hats and dresses. So there you are, 20 tracks and a host of reasons why performers came to share their names with American soil. As an aside, the opening quote from RollingStone.com goes on to list some of the early names for now famous bands which may have been bad enough to leave them languishing in oblivion. On a Friday, Radiohead. Screaming Abdabs, Pink Floyd. Salty Peppers, Earth, Wind and Fire. Tony Flo and the Miraculously Majestic Masters of Mayhem. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think I feel another playlist coming on.